Shemai, lesson 23 on how to read music on our bass ukuleles. So we're using this book, which is Team Strings Double Bass. It's a brilliant book for helping people to learn how to read music, obviously for the double bass, but works brilliantly on our bass ukuleles and bass guitars too. So lesson 23, it is the final lesson in this series. All right, don't worry, I'm going to keep doing bass ukulele lessons, especially with reading music, but other things as well. But this has been focusing on how to read music for absolute beginners. In other words, notation when you start out playing bass ukulele. It's taken a bit longer than I planned when I started it, but this is the way I teach this in school, and I have done for a very, very long time. This lesson, which is page 61, focusing on dotted quavers. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But I am going to mention just a couple of other little things towards the end of the book. And then I don't actually cover the very last page, which is scales, because I'm going to be doing a lot of things on scales in the near future. So page 61, dotted quavers. I have already talked about dotted notes previously, dotted minims, dotted crotchets. Basically, you take the original note and halve it and then add it back on. So if we were doing a dotted minim, a minim is worth 2, half of 2 equals 1, 1 plus 2 equals 3. A dotted quaver, now a quaver is a half beat note. It's worth half a beat, all right? Quavers in American terminology are the 8th note. I'm not even going to try and explain that bit of it, okay? But a dotted quaver, you half the original note. So half of half, quarter, and add it back on. So a dotted quaver is worth 3/4 of a beat, and nearly always it is followed by a semi-quaver. All right, so you're getting this slightly longer note followed by a very short note, which adds up to 1 beat. So we've got some rhythms at the top of the page. If you want to have a go of clapping them or saying it or playing the rhythm, I'm going to look at the 2 smaller exercises just below that to start with. We start off with a time signature of 4/4, which means 4 crotchet beats in a bar. Okay, so the first little exercise sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, right, let me just slow that down and explain. The first bar has got quaver beats followed by a crotchet followed by a rest, and should sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3, rest. The next bar has got the dotted quavers, so in effect we're subdividing those into 3. So imagine you're counting a semi-quaver that we did in the previous lesson, and it should sound something like this: 1, 2, 3, rest. I'm going to actually count it out: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, rest. Okay, I'll play the 2 bars together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got to be quite short and sharp, not like a swing or a shuffle beat. Okay, there is a difference. And the next little exercise is just a run of notes up: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll count them out: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. It's not that easy counting when you're playing it, mind. And the second exercise again. As always in music, it is so much easier if you already know the tune, and this is probably one of the most well-known tunes on the planet. Happy birthday to you. Time signature 3/4, so 3 beats in the bar, but we do have an upbeat. We're in the key of G major, so 1 sharp. We've got top C, 5th fret, and top D, 7th fret. And we've got those horrible chords above as well. Ignore the letters, they're not for us, we're reading the notes. Okay, nice and slowly with counting. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And we stop after 2 because we got that upbeat at the start. Right, let me just point to a couple of things in that first of all. Right at the end of that first line, I had 2 open Ds, followed by a top D. Be sneaky. Use those open Ds to move your hand position up to 7th fret, ready. And then don't forget, we come straight back to our B with our 4th finger. I skipped out a funny sign in the middle, which is a pause. All right, I will play it now in this second playthrough, but I just wanted to explain what it was to start with. And don't forget, we're going 5th fret for our top C, then we're going to play our B with our middle finger, because we've got an open string following it, which gives us time to move back to our first finger on the G string, A, and then open G. So happy birthday again, without me counting, and the pause in the middle. 1, 2. Pause. So there you are, you can now go and play Happy Birthday to whoever's birthday it is. And the last official piece we're going to do is just a couple of things I want to mention in a moment. Oh Susannah, a nice American traditional to finish off with. We've got 2 beats in the bar. We're in the key of D major. We're on the G and the D strings. We've got dotted quavers in there. We haven't got any really high notes, so in that terms it's a little bit easier. All right, ignore that first bubble that says up bow. That's for the double bass players. Okay, oh Susannah, with me counting, and don't forget we got an upbeat to start with. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. Rest. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. And we stop a quaver earlier because of the upbeat. Now there's one little what we call a rhythmic device in there. I don't know if anybody noticed it and if you can remember the name of it. Syncopation. All right, about halfway through it goes 1, 2, 1, 2. In other words, we're playing those notes over the beats. So oh Susannah, little bit faster without me counting. How did you get on with that? As always, start slowly, then speed it up. Pause the video if you need to read the music or use your book. I mentioned earlier there are a couple of other little things I just want to talk about before we finish this lesson. Page 62, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Okay, I'm going to pop it up on the screen. There we go, but I'm not going to play through this now. This is for those people who got the book. Couple of little things I want to mention. First of all, it has got a different time signature. okay, it's got 2, 2 at the beginning, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Counted in 2. It generally is going to be something that is quite fast, so you're actually subdividing it into 4. Okay, I'll play exactly the same again, but this time in 4. You'll see it's exactly the same to listen to and to play. You just got a 2, 2 instead of 4, 4. 2 at the top is the number you're counting. 2 at the bottom means minim. All right, so 2 over 2 is the same as 4 over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so 2, 2 is a different time signature. I'm sure we will come across things like that again, but it's exactly the same as 4, 4. And the very, very last thing I'm going to mention, Amazing Grace at the top of page 63, all right, triplets. Now, let's think of it in terms of babies. Twins means 2, triplets means 3, and in this case, a quaver triplet means we are managing to fit 3 notes into the same time as 2. Amazing Grace, again, most of you are going to know the tune, and this is why I've just pointed to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Amazing Grace, because if you know what the tune sounds like, you really know what the notes are without realising what they are. So Amazing Grace, 3 beats in the bar with an upbeat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and so on. In other words, I'm fitting 3 quavers into 1 beat. Okay, instead of subdividing it into 2, I'm subdividing it into 3. And we've talked about it before. You can see some lines going over notes. Lines over different notes is a slur marking for double bass bows, or pulling off, which is something I'm going to talk about a different day completely. But some of those lines go between 2 notes that are the same, and you should remember that is a tied note. In other words, if you've got a big line, you can see in the middle there over that top D, all right, the first note is worth 3 beats, dotted minim. The second note is worth, minim is worth 2 beats, so it's 5 altogether. So it should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So I wanted to mention those last 2 things, 2, 2 time signature and triplets. They are things that I'm going to be covering in future lessons, okay? I just wanted to try and stick to the basics the way I teach them in school, which has worked for many, many years. So dotted quavers was the main lesson today. I will also be looking at scales a lot in the near future, hence why we're not looking at the last book. But I do hope if you have gone and bought the book, A, you've found it useful, and B, you can keep returning to it. You can use it as a reference point, all right? But this is, as I said, the last of this series of how to read music on our bass ukuleles. Future bass lessons now, hopefully some of them will be just music, some of them will be just tab, and some of them will be both. But this is what I mean, you're not doing yourself any harm by learning different ways. First of all, learn the names of the notes on the actual fretboard, learn how to read tab, learn how to read notation, and you've got all the bases covered. Oh, and learn how to play by ear as well. All right, that's something else I'll talk about again in the future. So thank you for sticking with me with these ones. I know it's taken a lot longer than I intended, but I've had such positive feedback from you guys for doing these lessons. I really, really wanted to get to the end of them. As always, if you've got a comment or a question, please feel free, leave it below. Give us a like if you've enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe so we don't miss out on new videos. Thank you for watching.